Good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight with Annabelle Tiffin. Our top story. A huge rise in the theft of domestic gas theft. The cost of living crisis is blamed for a 25% rise in cases across the region. Gas companies describe the practice as dangerous. Also tonight, the Peak District River named the second worst in the country for pharmaceutical pollution. A new era at Old Trafford. Portugal's Ruben Amorim is finally confirmed as Manchester United's new head coach. How two divers from Lancashire made history and earned themselves a place in the Guinness Book of World Records.
And it's been another quiet day weather-wise, but a little bit of brightness made for a very pretty picture on the Isle of Man. But will we ever see the sun again? Join me at the end of the programme. I'll give you all the details.
Gas companies have expressed concern after a huge rise in the theft of domestic gas, a crime they say is extremely dangerous and could impact people's bills. It occurs when thieves tamper with gas meters. Cases have risen by 25% over the past year. Here's our environment correspondent, Judy Hobson.
It's the first job of the day for gas engineer Asif. He's come to recheck a house in Stockport. A few weeks ago, a builder reported a problem with the gas supply and boiler. The engineer discovered they were taking gas from the neighbour's property. In other words, the neighbour was paying for their gas.
Where's your gas meter?
The gas meter had been tampered with, so Asif has returned to make some checks.
So we're just going to have a look now to see what's inside the meter. So as we can see here, they've had a new supply put in, but it's obviously disconnected from outside.
It's unclear who was responsible for tampering, and an engineer will have to return to reconnect the gas.
We have seen an increase in terms of the jobs that we are going to investigate theft of gas, more so in recent times.
Meter tampering, interfering with your pipework or interfering with your appliances can be really, really dangerous. Gas theft is a situation where someone looks to take their gas for free. And meter tampering is one way in which people look to do this.
Gas thefts have risen by 25% in the past year. Figures from April last year to July this year show there were 269 confirmed gas thefts in Liverpool and 179 in Manchester. Thefts of gas and electricity add £50 to our annual bills.
Anyone that tampers with their meter or interferes with their pipework can create gas leaks. And a gas leak can go on to create a gas explosion, which can have devastating consequences. If you suspect gas theft, you can report that 100% anonymously to stay energy safe.
Next, Asif heads to East Manchester. This time, though, it's more complicated. It's a multi-occupancy property where one resident believes their gas is being stolen.
See here, you can see that the meter box is broken.
Asif is suspicious about one of the meters. He reports it and will have to speak to the landlord.
There's been reports where people will just literally rob your meter. When this does happen, we do get a phone call, and this could be anywhere in the middle of the night, and we're having to go and safeguard life and property because it is dangerous.
Gas fraud is a criminal offence with a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison and a fine of up to £2,000, and those who steal gas are made to pay back what they owe.
We have no hard evidence that links the increase in the numbers of cases to the cost of living situation that we're all facing. But we are mindful that people are under pressure at the moment.
6 million people across the UK live in fuel poverty. The Cadent Foundation has set up a £2 million emergency support fund to help some of the poorest households this winter. Judy Hobson, BBC North West Tonight.
Let's get a roundup of some of the day's other news now. And a 12-year-old boy is in hospital after being seriously injured when he was hit by a car in Lancashire. It happened just before 10 o'clock last night in Catterall. A 24-year-old man and a 22-year-old woman, both from Manchester, have been arrested on suspicion of drug driving. Police have launched a murder investigation after the death of a woman in Bolton. Officers found the 59-year-old dead at an address in Tongmoor on Tuesday. A 42-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder and remains in police custody. September's Radio 2 in the Park festival generated more than £5 million for the economy in Preston. More than 68,000 people attended the three-day event in Moore Park, which featured headliners Sting and the Pet Shop Boys. The City Council estimates that 16,000 visitors stayed overnight and a further 31,000 made day trips. Now, a number of residents who are living in a condemned block of flats in Greater Manchester say they've been left homeless. People who have rented and privately owned flats at Bagley Crescent in Middleton were moved into temporary accommodation after a fire last year. Some have moved back, claiming they have nowhere else to go. Electricity North West has now disconnected supplies because it says the building may be unsafe, as Eunice Muller reports.
Lawrence Cook is 68 and has lived here for 4 years. Last week he returned to his one-bedroom flat after a triple bypass operation, only to find there was no power.
I've lived in total darkness, that's why my legs are so bad, my back's really bad. I end up falling over. I've ended up trapped in between all the stuff. I've been trapped there for 2 hours at a time.
Outside the building, he showed me where the electricity cable had been disconnected.
I wasn't left to make a plan for this. I was never given anything, any sort of notification saying on such and such a date we will be doing blah, 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 and it's up to you to move around.
The building was condemned last year following an arson attack. Tony Henry and other residents were moved to temporary accommodation.
Nobody had nowhere to go. I said, look, we can't put out you all on the road. So the best thing, you all have to go back in there. And you have to find places to put you all. You know? Next thing now, they ain't get back to no one.
Bury Council and the property owners are trying to bring the building up to standard. The authority said people living here are effectively squatting, but it wasn't responsible for the disconnection.
Everybody told them, look, you have sick people in here. You're not supposed to come and cut the electric.
A housing project based next door is run by Stuart Potts. He helps the homeless find accommodation.
If you're not going to give anybody any sort of alternate accommodation, nobody in the right mind, like I say, is going to move out onto the streets, and especially with winter coming on, it's going to get colder. I mean, these are two vulnerable older gentlemen, you know what I mean, so they could die.
Electricity North West said it disconnected the power because the connection was illegal and the building could be unsafe. This resident and his family are currently staying with friends.
It's really hard to contact them, to phone them even. If we could get a council house, which we're not asking, give us for free, we can pay for that. Both of us are working, so that would be.
Bury Council says it is concerned the vulnerable people are in the property and has asked anyone who needs help to contact them. Some, like Lawrence, have somewhere to go for just a few days, but other residents will remain here. Eunice Muller, BBC North West Tonight, Middleton.
Well, we've spoken about sewage in our rivers plenty of times on this programme, haven't we? But what about drugs and medication in them? Well, a stretch of waterway in the Peak District has now been found to have antibiotics, heart medicines and antidepressants in it. The situation in Tideswell has angered people there so much that they'll join a march in London this weekend to campaign for cleaner water. Our reporter Amy Johnson's been to see the problem.
The Peak District, a protected landscape and home for wildlife. Flowing through it is Tideswell Brook, but hidden unseen beneath the surface, national research by the Rivers Trust and the University of York found high levels of pharmaceuticals contaminating this water from repeated sewage spills. The discovery has left people living here shocked and demanding action.
When we found out that there was antidepressants in the water, we laughed about it at first because actually you do feel really chilled out, you know, when you go cold water swimming. But what the hell? You know, what is it doing in our rivers?
You'd think as a country we would be able to look after our most pristine landscapes and everything that sustains life in it.
Repeated sewage spills into the river means the amounts of drugs in this water was the second highest recorded in the country. Lynn Crowe is chair of the Tideswell and District Environment Group and a former professor in environmental management.
We're all using more and more drugs, we're all taking more and more medicines, we're all getting older and older, and our sewage works don't seem to be able to cope.
Water companies are allowed to release untreated sewage when there's high rainfall and a chance of flooding. But data from the Environment Agency shows discharges into our waterways more than doubled in 2023. The recorded data shows that Severn Trent Water were allowed to discharge untreated sewage into this brook 125 times last year.
We need to make sure that the water companies are properly held to account by the Environment Agency and by the government. And we probably need new environmental standards, both for these small rural sewage works and to deal with things like pharmaceutical pollution.
And the conversation at Tideswell will grow louder in London on Sunday, when campaigners from the Peak District will join thousands in a march for clean water, demanding further government action. Amy Johnston, BBC North West Tonight, Derbyshire.
Well, Severn Trent told us that high rainfall compared to the year before led to increased use of overflow discharges at Tideswell. And the Environment Agency says monitoring for pharmaceutical products in effluent there is not a current requirement, but they are working closely with other regulators and the water industry to better understand how pharmaceutical compounds enter our water environment. The government has announced a rapid review of the Environmental Improvement Plan, which it says will include how best to manage chemicals and are reviewing the whole water industry. So we've got everybody's point of view there across, I think. OK, moving on. GPs, care homes and hospices say they are concerned about the impact the hike in employer national insurance will have on them. The NHS and the rest of the public sector are exempt from the tax rise announced in the budget. But care homes or hospices, which provide NHS services, are not. They now fear it will put a major strain on their finances. Well, let's speak now to Lee Vallance, who is Chief Executive Bolton Hospice, but she's also Chair of the Greater Manchester Hospice Group. Lee, thank you so much for joining us this Friday evening. How much will this national insurance hike cost hospices like yours?
For my hospice in Bolton, it's £80,000.
A year?
Yeah.
And what difference is that going to make, then, to the hospice finance?
It's a significant impact on a deficit budget that we're already running.
Mm. How much does it cost to run the hospice per day?
Per day, it's a significant sum. I know that it's over £6 million a year that we need to generate.
Yeah, so £80,000 on top of that.
Yeah.
It's no small change.
No, absolutely not.
So how did you feel then when you heard that hospices would not be exempt from this?
We understand the need to generate more income. We understand the need for further funds into the NHS, into education. But this further reinforces the need for a more sustainable, fairer funding deal with the NHS.
Because at the moment, hospices get roughly around a quarter of their funding from the NHS, and the rest you have to completely raise yourselves.
It's the people in our communities, people of Bolton, the people across Greater Manchester, using our charity shops, our lottery, making donations that makes the difference. Really, I don't think it's too much to ask that the NHS puts 30 pence towards the 70 pence that people within the community generate. That's all that we're asking for.
So it's probably not unfair to say, then, that really all people that climb Kilimanjaro or jump out of an aeroplane to raise money for you are going to be contributing now to this national insurance hike.
That is one way of interpreting it, and I think really the answer is getting a fairer funding deal from the government through the NHS and addressing it through that route. It's not helped, it's made a bad situation worse, but we all understand the needs to actually invest more in our essential services, including hospices.
We've talked a lot on this programme about Zoe's Place, the children's hospice on Merseyside, and the financial troubles that it was having. Do you think that this is a moment in time where a lot of people are talking about hospice funding, that really the government now needs to really be listening to you?
I think the Secretary of State recognises the role of hospices, and it was mentioned in the Darcy report, the significant contribution that hospices make, and I think they are keen to find a resolution, but we need to see that rhetoric turned into action, and we need to see that by the end of this calendar year, because if things aren't addressed before then, we then have to consider our budgets from April 25 onwards.
How bad is the financial situation for hospices?
Well, most of us are running on a deficit budget because our funding has decreased over the past 14 years. So we just need to see the restoration of what was a fair funding deal all those years ago that has been eroded over the past 14 years.
When you say you want a better funding deal from the government, what do you mean? Do you want hospices to be totally funded by the NHS?
Hospices aren't asking for that. They're just asking for a fair contribution. Traditionally, it's been around the 30% mark, but that has declined significantly, and also costs have increased. So a big hole has opened up, and it simply isn't sustainable. I think our colleagues in the NHS understand this, but they also face their challenges. And hopefully, there's a resolution here. If we are all having to pay extra as employers into national insurance, we need to see that translated in better funding and better contracts with their key partners.
Well, we have a new government, so I guess you'll all be putting a bit of pressure on them now, will you, to listen to you?
Yes, we've been raising this issue for a significant amount of time with the previous government and the current government, and we're pleased to see that hospices have been recognised, but as I say, it's turning that rhetoric into action.
Lee Vallance from Bolton Hospice, thank you so much for coming to see us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, we're going to move on to sport now. Richard is here. Manchester United fans have been waiting for confirmation about their new manager, haven't they? Yeah. Their head coach, whatever you want to call him.
Yes.
And today they got it, and young. Not that matters, but it's quite interesting.
39 years old, Annabelle.
Yeah.
United have their man. Ruben Amorim, the Sporting Lisbon head coach, will move to Old Trafford as Manchester United's new head coach, signing a contract until June 2027. Because of the international break, his first game in charge will be the Premier League match against Ipswich on the 24th of this month. United have had to pay £9.25 million to trigger a release clause in his contract. But do the United faithful believe he's the right man to turn things around? Here's Ian Haslam.
Ruben Amorim to United have been football's worst-kept secret, and plenty have had their say on the 39-year-old's appointment.
We've had the special one, we've had the chosen one, we've now got the next one.
Erik ten Hag only got sacked on Monday. It's Friday, and you've got an official announcement. That is speedy, that is quick.
He's an incredibly successful, firstly, player. Played at Benfica, played at a really good level.
Some United fans are saying, listen, he's exciting, let's see what he can do. Others are saying, what we've done is we've gone to a league that isn't as good as the Premier League, and we've picked one of their best managers. It's kind of what we did with Erik ten Hag. He was really good at Ajax, but the Dutch league, it's not the best. The Portuguese league, got some good teams in it. It's not the greatest, but he was winning it.
But as Amorim admitted this week, the situation had become a soap opera after United's approach.
A novela, digamos assim, portanto.
And yet, he's joining the biggest football soap opera there is at Man United, surely.
He must be. But when you arrive and you see the actual challenge ahead, the first training session with the players, that is the soap opera starting now, I think.
Amorim will get the chance to meet his new neighbours when his Sporting side hosts Manchester City in the Champions League on Tuesday.
You couldn't make this up, could you?
That is going to be brilliant. If he can pull out a victory against Pep Guardiola, that is exciting football for me.
In the meantime, Ruud van Nistelrooy will remain in charge for the next 3 matches.
I came here to help the club forward, and I'm still very motivated to do so in any capacity. And now as an interim manager.
You think Ruud's going to do what he wants to do, but maybe Amorim drops him a message and politely says, listen, get the lads ready, because when I'm coming in, I'm going to play 3 at the back, which he's very known for. So, Ruud, try it out for us.
United host Chelsea in the Premier League on Sunday. Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight.
It's a big weekend for some of our smaller clubs, with 3 non-league sides from the region in the FA Cup first round. National League sides Oldham, who travel to Tranmere, and Rochdale, who face Bromley. Not forgetting our lowest-ranked team in the competition, Curzon Ashton. And with League One high flyers Mansfield, the National League North side's opponents on Sunday, it promises to be one of the biggest days in Curzon's history. Preparations today for a club and a team hoping to upset the odds.
I'm a local lad from the area, so there'll be plenty of friends and family coming down.
Do you think you can win?
Definitely.
Curzon certainly punch above their weight. This is the 3rd season in a row that they've made it to this stage of the famous competition. How proud are you of what you're doing here and just how far this club's come and how it's developed?
Oh, just immensely proud. And whilst we've got a great backroom staff, I've got a fantastic board of directors who work really hard, but all the plaudits go to the manager and the team.
A team of players who are part-time, with several combining tough manual jobs with their football.
You've got Isaac Sinclair, who's a scaffolder. You've got Jimmy Spencer, who's a landscaper.
Right.
And then you've got Will Hayhurst, who is a bricklayer.
Right, so you've got all sorts of different jobs, different characters. I guess that brings you the mix that you need, does it?
Yeah, of course, because obviously we're not full-time.
A part-time club that, with a crowd close to 3,000 expected, their biggest in many years, has all hands to the pump to get ready for the big day.
Everybody's excited about it. We've had so many phone calls about tickets and can people come and things like that.
Just getting to the first round is a real success for Curzon Ashton. Whatever happens on Sunday, they've made about £50,000 in the cup run so far. But if they could get to that second round and pull out a really big club, it could make all the difference for a club like this. And for the club's loyal supporters, kick-off on Sunday can't come soon enough.
We're on a real high in the National League North and we're really flying towards the top, and a few of us now thinking we can potentially even win the league. We'll see how that goes in April. But no, it's going to be a continuation of that, and it's just going to be amazing to sort of like, witness another league club at Curzon, and for the third year running in the first round as well.
And even though they'll certainly be major underdogs, there is a real confidence at Curzon that this season they could go even further. In case you were wondering, that pint of water, she's cleaning the lines. I did say I wouldn't be buying that. You can see... No, it wasn't. No, that's what she told me anyway. You can see all the FA Cup fixtures, of course, on the BBC Sport website. In Rugby Union, best of luck to Sale Sharks, who start their Premiership Rugby Cup campaign at Doncaster tonight. Everyone at Curzon Ashton, including Judith, it was such great fun.
Yeah, oh, well, good luck to them. And all our teams, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned about the water, though, because I
People
think
would
everyone
have
at
been
home was
wondering,
going,
wouldn't they? £3 for that? I don't think so.
Yeah, you get a penny off now after the budget.
Oh, that's
Richard,
it, yeah.
thank you very much. Now, you may know that we have been following the journey of BBC North West Tonight journalists Mohammed Salim Patel and Sean Gash as they attempt to set a world record for the deepest and longest scuba dive by two disabled people together. Salim is blind, and since we aired his story, other people with visual impairments have been inspired to get in touch, wanting to try diving themselves. So they've recently been to Egypt, and this is their story.
They've trained for years for this moment, and Salim and Sean are about to make history as the first disabled people to scuba dive 40 metres. Guided by their instructor Curly, the pair will dive for an hour.
You know, we've got somebody with legs that's powering away and somebody with arms powering away, and together we're like V6 engines.
Using signals, they are able to communicate underwater.
Myself and Salim have had to do the same practical and theoretical training as anybody else. The difference is we got a disability, but we haven't. Everybody's got a different ability.
Salim and Sean were able to dive in a canyon, which requires significant skill and preparation. Over a few days, they completed a number of dives, but their focus was on the world record.
So, the record has been set and will never be broken again, because we did it. We did 40 metres, we were down there for 60 minutes. A massive, massive thank you to Curly, to Sean, and to every single member of the team that's been involved from start to finish. You know, we didn't know we were going to get to do this. We've done it in the Red Sea. It couldn't have been possible without all of these people. So yeah, Guinness World Record.
Back home in Lancashire, Salim, Sean and their instructor Curly reflect on a huge achievement.
It is a big achievement for me and also for every single one working with me. It was really great, but again, my main thing is not honestly the record. My main thing is like having Salim and Sean see their face after each dive.
They've sent off evidence of their dive to the Guinness World Records, which will be verified. This has certainly been an experience they will never forget. Davinia Ramos, BBC North West Tonight.
Massive, massive congratulations to Salim, who of course works with us here, and to Sean, who we know pretty well as well. Well done, both of you. What an absolutely fantastic achievement. Right, Kay is here with the weather. How's it looking?
Quiet, benign, cloudy.
Well, that's all right.
Mild.
you know.
Yeah, very
Not
mild.
have everything all the time, can we? Thank you for your weather pictures. Let's start there, shall we? Roberto sent this photograph in Knutsford in Cheshire East. Cloudy skies. Little bit of a hint of brightness for Maggie in Ambleside in Cumbria earlier on. On the whole, a lot of cloud out and about today. Thank you for sending those photos in. If you'd like to send me some more, then do follow me on socials or become a BBC Weather Watcher and let me know what it's like where you are, which this weekend, I would say, is pretty much the same as what we've had. Although some sunshine, perhaps better to use the word brightness to come, more especially on Sunday, but it will be mostly dry. So mostly this morning, there was a little bit of drizzle in the air, wasn't there, from thicker cloud, but noticeably mild as I headed out this morning. And we're going to hold on to that mild air as we head right throughout this weekend and into next week as well. In fact, daytime temperatures much higher and overnight temperatures, like we'll have tonight, are pretty much where we should be during the day, give or take 10 or 11 degrees. But there is a lot of cloud as well. And a light breeze. So as we head to overnight tonight, we do hold on to a lot of that cloud. I think for the Fells, for the Pennines, you are looking at a little bit of mist and drizzle forming as well. So quite dank in some places. 10, 11 degrees the overnight low. So another mild start to your day tomorrow morning and a fair amount of cloud. Some mist, some fog. It will start to lift. Now, I do think for parts of Merseyside, perhaps even parts of Lancashire, seeing that cloud thin and lift a little. So brighter skies, perhaps as we head into the afternoon. Top temperatures, I mean, 5 degrees above average for the time of year, so it will feel mild. If you are heading to perhaps a bonfire display tomorrow night, then it will be dry. You won't need a brolly, and the winds will be fairly gentle as well. Now, as we head through into Sunday, high pressure starts to push away to Central Europe and we start to drag up more of the southerly, drier air mass. So that does mean that we should see that cloud starting to break up, and it will also allow, as we head overnight into Sunday, for some clearer skies. So a cooler start Sunday morning. But fingers crossed, we will start to see some spells of sunshine, albeit for a brief amount of time, because we'll start to see misty, murky conditions coming back next week. 13 or 14 degrees, mist and fog, slow to clear Monday morning, but on the whole, it looks to stay dry, Annabelle.
Still mild. Very mild. I don't know about you, but after the programme, I'm going to go for a pint where Richard Aston drinks. Because apparently it's only £3.
Clearly he's a student.
Yes. Yeah. Or lives in 1983. Thanks very much for watching. Good night.
Take care.
£3.